Okay, hi. Welcome to this third episode on gamification and events. And since I have talked before, my background is I'm a graphic designer, and it's some branding mostly. And what have been doing for the past 15 years is develop events and create experiences for brands and taking their message to the attendees of these events. It can be internal members or the general public. So what I've experienced is that it takes a lot of effort to get this message across the board, get it to people, and embed it into the audience. And that's why you have to repeat it. You have to use several media and stuff. When we tried gamification in events, we actually saw an opportunity to incorporate these messages into the whole experience and build it around it. And actually, you were the one behind that. So we, for the successful event we have with Coca-Cola and FSOP division, we actually got pretty much a napkin brief. It wasn't a full brief. They were busy. We were coming out of this huge event, CinemaCon, and they had little, if any, information around it. They gave us 4 key values for the organization, a couple of messages, and that was it. And somehow my co-host here came up with a world around it. So what's that? What's that about? What the hell, man? What the hell? What the hell? What happened there?
Yeah, actually, that's really interesting, right? So it's about the storytelling. Okay. So we're entering here the chapter of storytelling and event design. In gamification, I have been working with the storytelling from the beginning. Of course, storytelling is one of the main powers around the games. There's a lot of games that don't involve the storytelling as much, like Tetris, yeah. But even in those kinds of games, there is some kind of a storytelling there. Like you can say who is the villain and who's the hero in Tetris. The hero is this long piece.
It's kind of Russian.
It for some reason. For some reason,
but
yeah.
I think it's Russian.
It's Russian, right? So there's always like a theme that gives cohesion to the mechanics. Mechanics per se can be really engaging, but the narrative gives the game semiotics. That's the word. It's an awful word if you don't know a lot about semiotics.
Scary.
Yeah, it's a scary word, but it's what gives meaning. It's the sema. It's what gives meaning to everything. Narrative has that power, and when you're designing games, any kind of games, right? You're doing something for education or you're doing something for marketing, loyalty. When you incorporate narrative elements, those narrative elements immediately starts making your memory work in a different way, right? So memory works really well. These mental palaces, and what people say that if you see how mnemonic contests work, it's about creating stories, right? So the thing is, when you have all this storytelling, the problem when you work with brands is that brands are really protective, right, around what they're trying to express with the brand itself, right? You cannot touch the brand too much, right? So what did we do? We couldn't touch the brand too much, but we could work around these values that the brand had. And this becomes really important because a story can emerge from 3 keywords. You can get 3 keywords. That's how improv works in theater, for example, right? So give me an action, give me a subject, and from there, a whole story can emerge, right? In this case, we had 4 keywords, right? Magic, growth, legacy, and heart.
And these are values that are super broad. We're gonna say we work for Coca-Cola and we have worked for them for so long, and they have such a strong story and brand identity that's super known, and happiness and all the things go around. This was an internal division, and they were trying to define their values and try to define their guidelines. And you just mentioned them. They were like very meaningful and all that. But then you came up with Keepers of Magic and Valiants of Heart and Masters of Growth. And suddenly these values became like clans or something. And these players belong to a team.
Yeah.
What's behind that?
So what's the thing that's behind all of this is that in games, the words that you really remember are those that you use consistently in the game, right? In the game world. So, for example, take for instance World of Warcraft. So
Okay.
I haven't played World of Warcraft in a really long time. We started playing together, right?
I know.
Then you continue. I left the game.
It hooked me in. And like I have
And
a
I
free
left you.
trial. You maybe you like it, maybe you won't, and 15 years later,
Yeah.
I'm lean. I've been off the hook for a couple of months.
That's right. And even though I haven't played for around 15 years, I can still remember the Blood Elves. I can still remember the Hunters. I can still remember all these characters because you talked a lot about those characters. You were always discussing Azeroth and all these words that become ingrained into the lore of the game world. And some of them appear really often. Those become part of your language, right?
Exactly. And now you mentioned the lore. World of Warcraft started in 2003, I guess. So it's 20 years. It turned 20 recently and still super popular. And so where I saw the lore, which is the story behind everything that's happened since 2003 and how the worlds have shifted and they went to the space and then they came back and they went to hell, the afterworld and all that. It's like 20 something hours combined, the cinematics and all that. It's super complex. And I know because you created a whole story behind this event around the values, around the objectives. Because, yeah, at a corporate event, what you want is, okay, these are the new things that we need to start doing as a team to succeed, period. That's the objective. How do you transmit that message in such a way? You have phenomenal keynote speakers, you have the leaders, they transmit that, but then we made it part of the game and you created a lore. And when we were discussing it, we were thinking, okay, we should do this approach. We should use this type of narrative. Should we go this way or that way? And then you said something that was new for me. There has to be a meaning behind everything because, and it struck me what you said about the steampunk themes and stuff. They actually have a meaning.
Yeah, that's really important. So, of course, we started with these words, and from there we built a lot of things that use that words, right? Like the orders and the characters use magic, legacy, road, and heart, and it became ingrained into that part. But only using the words that helps the mnemonic, but it doesn't help the meaning of the event. It gives value to these words that make it part of the day-to-day, the routine of the event for people. But if you want to give it meaning, you need to understand that aesthetics are not just about pretty things, right? So take, for instance, the game art. We did a lot of game art for this event, right? We used a lot of AI. It was not about using the AI. The important part was the art director and the graphic designer, everyone thinking about how this art should work, what would be the aesthetic of the game, what would be the genre of the game, right? Because all these elements have meaning incorporated to them because of context, because they have appeared in the same context with the same kinds of narratives, the same tropes over and over again throughout history. So what I told you is if we use the steampunk, for example, right? Or if we use cyberpunk, those would convey two different kinds of meaning, really different kinds of meaning. Even if the narrative behind it would be really similar, there are two kinds of narrative that come associated with those themes, right?
The revolution. Fighting it against the system and all that.
Exactly, right? So what happened here is we were talking about, this was a journey, of course. We were talking about a journey, and it was a journey into the unknown to reveal some secrets. I remember in the brief, we had these words, but there was also like this, what's the secret around team building? What's the secret behind networking? What's the secret? And from there, what I thought was, okay, which kind of genres work really well with this kind of secrecy kind of narratives, right? So, of course, you have your secret guild things and, right, the Illuminati and all those stuff. And we incorporated a little bit of that. But the main thing was the architecture, the adventure exploration, the archaeology exploration game, right?
Yeah, I remember you mentioned Indiana Jones, Uncharted.
Right.
This exploration, discovery, go hunt the treasure, and
something happened, something was found, we need to find it, we need to decode it, and we need to decipher it, right? And the whole idea behind that kind of expedition is we need to find some secret, something that the secret sauce, we need to explore the unknown to actually get at the end the great meaning of everything, right? So we incorporated that genre, and all of these orders and everything started uh, gravitating around that meaning and that kind of storytelling, and it worked really well to give not only the story. It's not just about creating a simple lore. It's about actually allowing those values to live somewhere, right? It's easier to talk about magic if you have a context where you can explain what that magic means. So magic was not about magic casting. It was not about wizardry, right? It was about right. They told us magic is about the power of collaboration. So
yeah, Coca-Cola is magic, and it's funny because we were at Universal Studios Orlando. We actually afterwards went to Hollywood London, but we couldn't include any of those actually because of the rights and all that. But actually, yeah, the Coca-Cola magic is about the magic embedded, the magic of happiness, the things that happen, and now that you mention it, is super real. And just for you to get an idea of how this looks like is you're sitting, you're having keynote speakers, you're having your leader talking, and then you go out, and then you become again, okay, I'm a keeper of magic. I need to do this and this mission, and I need somebody from other order, and you start reinforcing those messages in the dead spots of the convention. Those were supposed to be your, okay, now you go have fun, do whatever you want. Well, turns out a lot of people wanted to keep playing and keep like soaking the messages. And actually, one thing that was funny is they got to choose their order beforehand, and somehow you start like rooting for their team and feeling identified with those values. You know the others, but somehow you start rooting for your team. Yeah, like, we're Team Heart. And I'm proud. Oh, you're Heart too. And then you start finding people similar to you, but around the core values of the brand. It's not about the, like, okay, we're Bull Team. It's a possibility, but it's not as deep as going, no, our team goes around the growth. We're challenge seekers. And you built a lot of traits and actually weaknesses for each one of the classes. That's part of the game design. And each one of those, depending on those classes they chose, they had this good and this bad, and they had to actually balance and find others in order to complete things.
Right. And the missions, there were missions that had this storytelling element, and the missions were divided among all the 4 groups. And each kind of mission in the storytelling, there was something that would be associated to those core values, even though they were built around this fantasy world, right? So we were exploring these islands, and we were in the sea of turbulent waters, and we are in this ship, and we're trying to survive a kraken. I don't know. But behind all of that, if this was a mission for the Keepers of Magic, which were social, the mission would have this social element embedded into it. So you would be in constant contact with what the meaning of those words would mean, and it would not just be like a gimmick. It's not a gimmick. It's really powerful.
Exactly. It's not arbitrary at all. It's by design, every aspect of it. And one experience I had being there is you start seeing the similarities between the other members of your order, even though everybody's similar and stuff, but you start seeing people saying, of course you're Harv, you're like me. And you start seeing this social glue straightening bonds and creating invisible bonds and out of nowhere, because you happen to be at the same booth, delivering your missions. Like, there were very like specific geographic points where the game took place at, and suddenly you started seeing, oh yeah, you're one of mine. Like if you find somebody from your country in a different country, oh yeah, Colombia, yeah. So these guys were like that, and you start seeing that. And when that reward part of the game happened, there was an internal idea from the team. Okay, we're gonna reward the top players and stuff. I noticed, and I wasn't expecting this, that since the staff members were working in different booths and stuff, we started to cheer for the players that we knew. Like, oh yeah, that's one of my people. Suddenly, we were also emotionally involved in the game, even though we weren't playing technically. But as game masters, like I was a game master of
game masters are players,
and then you were, and suddenly we were also part of that. And I think for a very long time, if ever, those values are gonna be in our minds and in our hearts forever. So I don't know if you have anything else to say about the narrative and how powerful it is.
Yeah, and how
It's a way
it
to
was
communicate.
incorporated in your own work, because you as you were working with the brand image, and you created this emblem for the four orders, and this emblem was so powerful that after the event people would tell you, I want a t-shirt with that logo, right? And it's because the symbol becomes more powerful when you live that symbol, when that symbol is part of the essence of the storytelling, and it created and I think that was memorable. That's important.
Totally, and actually, this is for you designers out there. Like, it was the experience I had, and thank you for mentioning it. Like, I was requested, yeah, we should make a combined symbol, and it should maybe look like a badge or a seal or something. Okay, I don't know if that leading alone would have been as successful as it became after being part of the world, and now that's something I want to have for me. And yeah, you're right. They were looking forward to get T-shirts and stuff with that, just like we do with our favorite sports team. So it is a super powerful branding enhancer, and definitely, yeah, I think there's a lot of potential. It's a challenge we'll have in marketing to get the message across the board and make sure it sticks with the audience. But definitely, gamification is one of the best ways we have seen to stick those messages and make them part of them and stick forever. So I don't know if we have anything else to say. So we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.